Hi, and welcome to episode 163 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, March 5th, 2017. I am just kind of getting over a little something, so I think you can hear it. I'm a little more nasal than usual, but I am sitting down with you. I thought I would try to record because I've been doing a lot of knitting and spinning, and I'm having a little cup of cocoa. And here's my teacup. It has pansies on it, my favorite. I love my roses, but pansies still have my heart. We have made it until March. I'm feeling very like it could be spring soon. Not going by the weather. We had a big snowstorm on Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, that a lot of churches actually canceled because the roads were so bad. But my dad always had this saying that if you can make it to the end of February, winter's back is broken. And so I always feel that very strongly. This year I've been thinking about him more than ever because this last week, Thursday, marked the 10th anniversary or 10th year since he passed away. So, but I always think of that saying that, there is hope now. We can have lots of big snows, but they do melt quicker in March because the sun is, up higher in the sky and stronger. So I have a lot of knitting, and I did a lot of some spinning and a lot of sewing to show you. So let me get started with what's been on my needles. So it's the first week of the month, the first Sunday of the month, and that is kind of the day I show my bohus sweater. And so here is where I am on that. I have the whole thing finished up into the edges. I have cuffs to do. I have a bottom band to do. It's going to be a cardigan, so I have to do the button bands and neck band. So everything is done except for edges. And it has been this way. Actually, this is very rolled up because it's, it has no edge on it. But it's been this way kind of since, I don't know, mid-February. I just have to kind of sit down and play and kind of figure out what I want to do for the edges. But it feels like really close to being done at this point. All that kind of stockinette is done. So most of my knitting time has been spent with the other sweater that I'm working on, and this uses this Sun Valley Fibers DK BFL yarn, and the color is called Granny Smith. But I am just kind of improvising a sweater out of this yarn, and I'm having a really good time doing it. So I think I showed it to you last time I had started on the sleeves. So here is the sleeve, and I'm using this really pretty stitch pattern that I found in a Japanese stitch dictionary. And you can tell I'm doing a shaped armhole because it has this sort of bell kind of curve. And I'm doing it flat. To me, I like to knit things in the round, but I like to knit things flat too. I don't mind the seaming of it. And one thing that I'm doing, so this has this all over kind of stitch pattern. And when you're kind of increasing for the sleeve, you have to take that into account. Usually it's not terribly difficult to, maintain a good line when there's like yarn overs, as this has. If it has a yarn over the knit two together, that coordinates with it, is kind of right next to it a lot of times. On this particular stitch pattern, the knit two together is kind of at the opposite end of where you do the yarn over. So in that case, you have to make sure that you're taking that into account. And a lot of times it leaves sort of a dead space kind of at the edge where if you're going to wait until you have a whole stitch repeats amount of stitches to start working it, you have this kind of dead space of stockinette. that you're just increasing, but there's not enough to like work into the pattern. And I never like that. I always, try to like figure out another way, increasing within the pattern or doing something. And this one, I kind of worked out how to utilize those extra increases and kind of just figured out the ratio to do. And you can, so you can sort of see there's no dead space in there, but this is my first sleeve. And I have my second sleeve finished, and I seamed it up. I blocked it and seamed it so that you can see sort of, here's my center seam. So you can see sort of how it's just, there's no dead space kind of up the seam line. It just kind of flows in pattern, and it does make sort of what that like Rorschach kind of pattern, because here you've got like a full repeat, and then you've got like full repeats on both sides, so it makes sort of, kind of goes up. So anyway, I'm really happy with how that turned out, and so I left the other sleeve kind of unblocked and unsewn so that you could sort of see the difference. But I'm really happy. It's just a pleasure to work with this yarn. It has a really nice feel. It's a superwash yarn, and you know how sometimes superwash yarns can almost feel like too slippery, too soft. They almost feel like acrylic. They don't even feel like there's wool anymore. This one doesn't. This one still feels, it has that wool feel. It's not scratchy or anything, but I'm really enjoying working with it. So I have the 2 sleeves finished, and I am currently working on the back. So for the sleeve, I just did a couple of ridges of garter for the bottom edge. And I didn't, when I blocked the sleeve, I didn't like pin it out aggressively. I just kind of laid it flat. I wanted to open up those eyelets a little bit more, but I did pin out kind of where this kind of natural progression of how the kind of stitch pattern works. You get these little scallops. So I did pin those out just to make sure that they were a little more pronounced, because I love that on the wrist. But I didn't think that that's what I really wanted for the bottom edge of the sweater. I don't often kind of do a different thing on the bottom than I do on the sleeve. But for this one, I wanted more of a ribbed edge. And so I just did a 2x2 rib on the bottom, but I love how the stitch pattern kind of flows out of that. It kind of like worked out how to get it to just sort of flow up into that. So that's where I am. I'm just, kind of, working away at it, and I'm alternating skeins. I've got 2 yarns. Still not sure kind of what I want to do with the front, which is why I went from the sleeves to doing the back, because if I do a zipper, I will work the edges of it different. I'm just not sure if I want to do it in this sweater, but eventually I will get to it. So that was kind of what I have been working on, just little by little, knitting that. It's a nice relaxing knit, but now that this is sort of kind of, figuring out like the, what I want to do for the ribbing, or, how I'm decreasing or increasing for the sleeve. Now I feel like I have the time to kind of play with the bows and, experiment a little more with that. So that is what's been on my needles. For off the needles, I don't really have anything. I am wearing this little kind of shawlette that I knit several years ago. It's a little Boo Knits. I'm not even sure which one it is, if it's Sweet Dreams or if it's like which one it is. They all have these like pretty little edges on them. But it is out of hand spun, and it has some little white beads on the edge. But I don't have anything newly off the needles. But I have been sewing a lot, doing the couture dress. I talked a lot about that the last time, and I think I left it off, whether I was going to actually finish it off or not. And I have had, there have been good points about it and bad points about it. So I can show it to you. It's finished through the stage of putting the lining on it into it. So here is my dress. It's hemmed and everything. So as you can see, it's not got any sort of a lining in there. You can just kind of see the seam allowances, not tacked down, but catch stitched down. And look, surprise, no sleeves. Yes, I have a tale to tell about sleeves on this dress. By and large, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with the execution of it. I'm happy with, how the plaid is lined up, and, how where you have the kind of side seams are all lined up. All those kind of little things that matter. I had never worked with a plaid before. It's a pretty easy plaid. It's small, it's even. But after I got the underlining on there, then it was kind of fun to actually match it up. And I think it made it more, you could be more precise with it. When you're doing, I did a hand-picked zipper, and when you kind of go down one side and then you sew up the other, and when you're doing that, you always, anytime you do a zipper, you have to get the waistline, and this had 2 points, to perfectly match up. And, if this didn't have a plaid, you'd have to just make sure you hit that point when you were coming up the other side. With this, it was no problem at all, because you would be matching those horizontal lines all the way across. Of course, you were going to hit that point right there. So that all worked out. What didn't work out is I sewed the whole thing, and I got all the catch stitching done and all the seam allowances trimmed, and I got the zipper in, and all of that stuff was fine. And I tried it on after I got the zipper in, and it was kind of hard to get into. And this is something I should have known, because I know this from knitting. When you knit a great big chunky sweater, you need to have more ease, right? To say, oh, well, I always make it 40 inches around, because on a chunky weight sweater, the interior measurement's so different than the exterior measurement, right? So you need more ease built in. Well, this fabric is thicker, plus you had all those seam allowances, and they were pretty thick still. You didn't trim them down really small. You couldn't trim them down really small in this fabric. But when I got it on, that midriff band was tighter than the little muslin dress that I fitted. So, I should have known that, but didn't. So then I was left where it was just felt a little tight, a little suck in, and not comfortable. And at that point, I was not going to start ripping things. This fabric is just not something you'd want to start ripping down. So I did kind of the one thing that Susan Golgi said to leave alone, was that back center seam. She's don't fit along that. When she was talking about fitting the muslin, she's leave that seam alone, and change the fit kind of in other places. But that was sort of my last place that I could change it. So I took the zipper out, and I took the back skirt seam out, and just gave myself a little bit more room. I couldn't, because I have these lines, I wanted to keep those lines straight. So I couldn't just do it, leave the neckline alone, and kind of just arc out a little bit. I wanted to keep things straight. So what that meant was that the neckline also increased. The back neck, like, also increased a little. So I did kind of take it down a little bit, which I think looks okay visually because the front neckline um, kind of scoops like that too. Um, thinking that that would take out a little bit of the excess, because it's going at a little bit kind of a steeper angle instead of more straight across like it was originally. And I think it did, but it's still a little bit, it gapes a little bit at the back of the neck more than it did, more than I hoped it originally would. And that's where because I raised that whole back, the original pattern had the neck, had it like low in the front and low in the back. And so I raised this all up. So that's where I had done a lot of the work on the fitting. So it's kind of disappointing that it's still like gapes a little bit. So then it came to a week ago Saturday, and the sleeves. And I, had the sleeves all prepared, and I had put them in the black dress. So I wasn't expecting it to be kind of, really, really difficult. And I put them in. It took quite a long time, because I wanted to get them in like right the first time, because this fabric isn't good for ripping out. And I got them in, and, it looked fine. I put one of them in, and it looked like really nice. So I thought, I'm going to try it on. And I tried it on, and it just pulled across like this part of the sleeve. And I think it was the same thing again. It was just that it was that this like fabric and those seam allowances took up more, space, and it was not acceptable to me. And I was I was ready to just throw it in the bin. I just wanted it gone. I put all this time and effort in. I just wanted it gone, because once I like redone the zipper and everything and thought, okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to like finish it. I think it's going to be okay. Then to face that again. So I, was kind of venting to a friend, and she said, well, can't you make it sleeveless? And I said, well, it's kind of a winter fabric and a winter dress. Would I want that to be sleeveless? And she said, you're a knitter, knit a cardigan. And I thought, well, yeah. And I kind of looked, and I actually have a little sweater that matches this pink exactly, the little pink sweater that I knit last summer, the Fire Witch little sweater. It's that exact pink. It's this, but that style is just not kind of right for this sweater. And actually, I think a black sweater looks really pretty with that. So I have a couple little black sweaters. And so I thought, well, let me see. At that point I hadn't finished off the other. I had one sleeve in, and I hadn't finished off the other sleeve. So I, kind of got up on, early Sunday morning, and I just, finished off the one sleeve to be sleeveless, because at that point I didn't know, like, is the armhole going to be the right size? Is it going to be in it? And it does sort of, because I had made them to have sleeves in it, it feels like it gapes a little bit, tiny bit, like, at the bottom of the armhole. Putting the lining in might fix that, because you can pull up those stitches. You put the lining in by hand, you can pull up those stitches tighter and tighten that up. So that is my hope on that. But it seemed to be okay. And so very like sitting in a window with like scads of light, I very carefully cut out the sleeve that I had sewn in, because I had double stitched it in too. It was secure. So I got that, and I had all those the seam allowances clipped and sewn down and everything. So I was like really worried about those. But I, and I had taken the basting out, so I was able to, because the lines were still on that underlining fabric, I could, kind of very carefully press right along the line where it needed to be. And then just very carefully stitched that down. I know it will be secured even more when the lining goes in there. So so then I like just hung it away on Sunday. After that was done, I just hung it away so I didn't see it. And then I think about Tuesday, I thought, okay, I'm going to try this on. And I put on like shoes, and I found my little black sweater that I was, thinking of, wearing with it, and put it all on. And having shoes actually helped a lot, and I had that was, I think, the first time I had it on with the hem up. And I thought, okay, it's not perfect, but I think it will be okay. And so at that point, I ordered the lining fabric, which hasn't come yet. It will, I'm supposed to get it tomorrow. So I'm thinking, hopefully I can, when I sew that lining in, I can, work on like tightening up those little sections where it like the underarms, where it feels like a little looser. And in my head, there's a really cute little Elizabeth Zimmerman little kind of jacket. I think she called the Bavarian jacket, which I can picture like it's all garter stitch, and it has that sort of almost that kind of like Chanel little French jacket, like with the little pockets, and like but you can see the sort of the lining, like to do that little jacket in black, and then have that pink Fire Witch, which matches, kind of be the pocket linings that you can see, and then do kind of buttons in the dress fabric, like to use those. And I can in my head I can picture that. I know, black. That will be a project for the late summer. We'll see. So anyway, that is where that project stands. So after, I kind of put the pink dress away, I was thinking about kind of my next sewing project, and I knew what it was going to be. And it was a dress fabric that I had bought last kind of late summer, early fall, that I wanted to use for sort of a transitional piece, kind of a patterned like little dress that I could wear into the summer, but that wasn't particularly like floral or something, which I kind of think of as more like summery sort of dresses. And since kind of that was on the pink dress was on the back burner until I got the lining, I thought, well, I could make a start at working on this dress. And I wanted to do sort of a major change in the pattern. I wanted to use this pattern, which is the pattern that I used for that butterfly dress I sewed kind of at the very end of the summer. That was really tight across the chest. It was just, that's where I found out, like, these patterns are made for a B cup. And I don't have a B cup anymore. So there's a thing you can do called a full bust adjustment, and that just changes that area of the pattern. It doesn't, if you just went up a size in the pattern, the shoulders would be too big and the neckline would be too big, and all of those things. So this just changes that area. And this dress has princess seams, and so I looked up kind of like how to do that. And you like trace off the pattern, and then you do a lot of like drawing lines and cutting and tilting things and reshaping them. And so that here is my like new pattern piece. This is the original. This is the part that's like on the side bodice. So this is like the original piece, and then here is my sort of like reworked piece, so that you can see it just has a little more curve to it. And so I am, like sewing the next dress, kind of using like this pattern piece from the front to see, hopefully that will work better and the girls will have more room to breathe when I wear it. So the fabric let me show that to you, is this. It's kind of this all over pattern, but it's, you know, kind of transitional colors. It's not like, you know, bright summery, but I can definitely wear it like in summer. And so I have the whole dress, like the whole like outer shell. I've got the bodice done. It is not sewn together because I was waiting on the lining, and I have this skirt done. It's all sewn. It's just you know, I needed to wait on lining for this, and so this is just a cotton, like a quilting cotton kind of fabric. And for the lining for this, I wanted to use something different than just cotton. It's, you know, because I will probably start wearing this, you know, as soon as it's like finished, and I figured it'll look cute with a little black sweater also. And, you know, but I'll probably be wearing, you know, tights or, you know, at the beginning, and kind of they will stick, if it's just cotton, they'll like stick onto that. So I wanted something a little more like slippery kind of lining. And so I had to send away for this also, because I looked at my Joann's and they had these really dark color. They had black and navy blue, and I wanted like a light gray. And so what this is a Bemberg rayon lining, which is, it's just looking shiny. It's kind of what you think of as lining like in a suit jacket or something. It's that very sort of thin, slippery fabric. And so that is what I am using. This just came yesterday. So, and I was gone all day yesterday, so I didn't have time to, like, you know, work with it at all. It's, you know, needs to get pressed, and that's probably what I will do this afternoon is, you know, press it and everything, and you know, cut out the pieces. And then I think, you know, well, hopefully I'm just kind of doing this as a wearable muslin. I will probably hand pick a zipper, and I will probably understitch the by hand, just because I really enjoy doing that. And it's just a nice kind of little luxury that you can put in, you know, something. All the other handpicked zippers, this one in the black dress, you can't really see the stitches because the fabric is so sort of thick. The black was like a corduroy, so they sort of just like went into the nap. So I, you know, kind of would like to do them, and I probably will do them in black just to make them like sort of stand out like even more. So I'm looking forward to that. So that is sort of my second dress. Honestly, the pink lining is supposed to come tomorrow, but I will probably keep on with this one and finish this one up first, because, you know, it's pretty straightforward. It's just got this gathered skirt, and you know, it will go together much quicker than the process of doing the pink one. You have to like start all again with, you know, laying out and, you know, tracing the you know, stitching lines on the lining, and then sewing them, and then sewing it all in by hand and stuff. So I will, you know, probably finish that dress up first. So that is what I have been working on. I do have a little more sort of show and tell things, because I had this order from that the silver lining came from fabric.com. I would have bought them both from the same place. The pink lining is Silk Crypto Sheen from Mood, and I would have bought the silver from it there, but they didn't have that. So I ended up having to do like 2 orders. So I got this green eyelet fabric, and it is like this, it's such a pretty green. It's like really, really pretty. And I love, it's got these really large eyelets that are kind of flowery. And when you have large eyelets, you can back them with a different color. So I'm going to back this with kind of a bright turquoisey blue. Hopefully I can find it. A couple years ago, I had a dress that was the opposite of that. That was kind of like turquoisey blue with the green underneath. And I love that dress, and it's a little tight on me now. So this is going to be be the opposite. I don't know what kind of pattern I want to use to sew it, but this will definitely get sewn up for this summer. And then a friend of mine, an online friend of mine, a shoe friend of mine, who showed a dress that she kind of just finished sewing, and I think she knits too, but she sewed this dress, and I asked her what the pattern number was, and she gave it to me, and then it's a buttrick pattern, and I went to Joann's, and they were $1.99 like this weekend, so I had to get it. And actually, I think her dress was cuter than the one on the thing, but so this is the pattern. It is buttrick 6094. And if you can see, like in the back, it's got like these, like kind of like a collar that folds back. And the big change she made on her dress is she just did sort of a gathered skirt instead of this big circle skirt. And it made it look a lot more just kind of fun and casual. And she used a print fabric. And then for the collar, she had kind of a coordinating solid and then these really kind of vintagey buttons. It was so cute. So I've never sewn with a buttrick pattern, so I don't know like what it'll be like to, but I will definitely, this is like one that I will want to like try with at some point. So I think kind of in my head, I want to like do, hopefully this wearable muslin will work out and I will be able to sort of do a few others, like kind of using that procedure of doing sort of a simple kind of a, like fun kind of cotton print dress to like kind of try out a pattern and then kind of know how it works so that when I have like fabric that I love more, like this pretty green or the pretty pink eyelet, I will kind of know like and hopefully end up with a project from those fabrics that works out. That's the plan anyway. So that is where my sort of knitting and sewing life is this week. I would love to hear about how yours is all coming along. Have your projects been a success or kind of a we'll try to make it work kind of thing? I'm a little disappointed in the dress. I had higher hopes for it, and but I'm going to put the lining in, and I will, hopefully have it be in a wearable state that I can show you how it fits. I think that is going to be the definitive, thing about sewing is, I'm really happy with the execution of everything on the pink dress, and it's the fitting, and I think that's just kind of an experiential thing. Hopefully that the more kind of projects I do, really the pink dress is the 5th dress that I've made, which, really isn't kind of that many. So hopefully I will improve. So thank you all so much for watching, and until I see you in a couple of weeks, because it seems like it's kind of fallen into this every sort of 2-week schedule, which I hope is okay with you. But it feels that amount of time, I feel like I have enough accumulated to really like show and be able to talk about and fill up. And, I don't want to, if you leave it go longer, then I'm like kind of leaving whole sections out and stuff. So anyway, until I see you next time, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.